Yes, a very good evening once again and welcome to the second edition of News Tonight. My name is Micheal Lukomwa. I'm with Elizabeth Nakakoni, the lady herself, on the sign language interpretation corner. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, in our first story, has been commended for the good, flexible refugee policies that have enabled people from the neighboring countries to take refuge in Uganda and amicably coexist with the hosting communities. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, made the commendation today when he paid a courtesy call on the President at State House in Entebbe. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, based in Geneva, was accompanied by the UNHCR representative in Uganda, Joel Butru, and the UN representative resident coordinator in Uganda, Ms. Rosa Malango, as well as senior officials from the organization. Others present at the meeting included the Second Deputy Prime Minister, General Moses Ali, Minister of Refugees and Disaster Preparedness, Hilary Neck, and the State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Henry Oriem. Grandi, who had just concluded his visit to one of the world's largest refugee settlements, Bidibidi, located in West Nile, told the President that he was very much impressed by what he witnessed at the camp and praised President Museveni and the government of Uganda for the inclusive refugee model. Uganda is the largest refugee hosting country in Africa. President Museveni warmly welcomed his guests to Uganda and asked his guests still to look into providing refugees with the alternative means of energy for cooking to avoid the practice of environmental degradation, cutting of trees. President Museveni also urged the UNHCR High Commissioner to deal with the relief and other logistics. He confirmed to his guests that all refugees will be included in the nationwide program of COVID-19 vaccination. The first National Vice Chairperson of the NRM, that is Alhaji Moses Chigongo, has called upon leaders in the party to desist from acts that compromise the image of government. Chigongo, who expresses dismay over the bickering that occurred at the floor of Parliament on Wednesday afternoon, urges Ugandans to exercise reasonable democracy. In a press release dated 11th March 2021, Chigongo clarifies that the NRM as a party has its mechanism of conducting business which prohibits members from using wrong fora to address pertinent issues. He underscores the need to respect and guard all the three arms of government, that's the legislature, the executive and judiciary. Moving on, Government Chief Whip, also Chiboga Woman Member of Parliament, Ruth Nankabirwa, has asked the Speaker, Right Honorable Alitwala Kadaga, to look for another way of enhancing coordination between Speaker and her Deputy, arguing that there is no crisis that could lead to another level of speakership. Nankabirwa says she was provoked to bring what happened in the SEC due to the circulating information that she wants the Speaker to step down for her deputy.
You might think that you stop at speakership. No, there are higher offices. SEC has to do the vetting. And if SEC vets you and says step down, we've been seeing people stepping down. If SEC says no, although the other time we advised one to step down, this time let both of them go. And this doesn't mean that I don't like this one, I like it. It's not liking. It is taking a choice for a position and work with the other one. And if you were not elected, like now I cannot feel offended because I didn't make it to Parliament. No, people have to make a choice. So we have to enhance coordination. We have to, if you have an assistant, if you have a deputy in whatever office, that deputy is there to help you.
That's the Honorable Ruth Nankabirwa, Government Chief Whip in Parliament. Minister for ICT and National Guidance, Judith Nabakova, has urged schools in rural communities facing challenges of ICT compliance to engage with Uganda Communications Commission, that is UCC, and explore possibilities of benefiting from their expertise. Nabakova says that the communications regulator has been empowered to provide ICT services to the less privileged, especially in rural areas.
That we are encouraging people to do online classes, we are encouraging e-learning, and we believe that this is the time for the education sector to embrace e-learning, and they are indeed embracing it.
Over 1,000 secondary schools, tertiary institutions and universities have been equipped with ICT infrastructure courtesy of Uganda Communications Commission under the Universal Services Access Fund.
So we encourage other stakeholders to build onto this. The infrastructure has now been provided. Let us leverage this to make sure that ICT in education realizes the benefits that it can.
While addressing the media at the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, the Line Minister for ICT, Judith Nabakova, said ICT-related subjects should not become a burden to learners when government can provide the required infrastructure.
As you may know, ICT is now a major subject at O-level and A-level. I therefore want to encourage those schools in rural communities that are challenged with ICT services to reach out to Uganda Communications Commission to explore possibilities of also benefiting from this support.
Nabakova says UCC's Universal Access Fund also targets a total number of 18,000 teachers and head teachers in the financial year 2020-2021 who will be equipped with ICT skills.
For the year 2020-2021, our target is to train 15,000 community members in the different locations. We are targeting at least to have 15,000 people trained in the various communities.
Among the programs to deepen the ICT services under the education sector include provision of ICT computer laboratories to rural community schools, the virtual content support, and the distribution of tablets, among others. Meanwhile, Honorable Nabakova clarified on the issue of radios that were supposed to be distributed to learners during the COVID-19 pandemic to support learning from home, saying that Parliament did not approve the funding. Jenny Ramcha, UBC News.
A total of $162 million is required to procure for the procurement of COVID-19 vaccines to cater for the other 27 million Ugandans. Minister for Health, Dr. Jane Ruth Acheng, says that the vaccines that were received were donations, not procured with government funds. This, she said, while presenting a ministerial statement at the floor of Parliament.
Sum of money, huge sum of money that this Parliament approved in a supplementary budget request to procure vaccines. I would appreciate in your submission, you have vividly put it clear that this consignment of the vaccines were donation. Could you please furnish us with the whereabouts of the money that was approved by this House?
Earlier this week, Uganda received a second batch of 100,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccine, a donation from the government of India. It was an addition to the initial acquisition of the 864,000 doses through the COVID-19 Vaccine Global Access Facility, which had been received days earlier. Although the vaccines are a donation, it's worth noting that the Parliament had appropriated funds for procurement of the vaccines through the supplementary expenditure. The funds in question, however, has attracted attention from some members.
Yeah, how many doses have you procured? And if the money that Honorable Nambesh is talking about has been disbursed to your ministry already, and how much it is that you have so far received, so that we know if there is any deficit.
Although Parliament approved the supplementary expenditure for procurement of the vaccines, the money in question, however, has since remained pending at the Minister of Finance. Minister for Health, Jane Ruth Acheng, shared this on the floor of Parliament.
Indeed, for procurement of vaccines, $5 million was provided. However, because of some technicalities, this money has delayed. We have not yet accessed it, and that is why we have not yet paid for vaccines. But we have an assurance from Ministry of Finance that this money will be available and we shall duly pay for the vaccines.
Nonetheless, sections of members of Parliament were also concerned over the efficacy of the vaccine.
There is a negative comment on AstraZeneca as a vaccine. We need you to allay fears. It looks like Uganda is concentrating on AstraZeneca when other countries are rejecting the same. Kindly guide us and how your scientists.
Many of the other vaccines are using newer technologies that have been developed, and also they require ultra-cold temperatures. So our scientists guided that it is safer to use vaccines whose technology we know and that we can store within our temperatures. But it does not mean we are only going to use the AstraZeneca vaccines.
The vaccination against COVID-19 is targeting at least 22 million people across the country, starting with frontline workers, including medics and teachers. Susan Naong and Gloria Guitabinji reporting for UBC TV.
Ugandans have been urged and encouraged to embrace the COVID-19 vaccine as the country moves towards dealing a blow to the corona pandemic. State Minister for Housing Chris Baryomunsi allays safety fears, saying that the vaccine went through all the processes of approval. Baryomunsi, who is also a professional medical doctor himself, lauded scientists for inventing a vaccine to save the world from COVID-19.
For the last 1 year and a couple of months, the talk in the entire world has been about the monster of the coronavirus pandemic. The talk has now shifted to the COVID-19 vaccine that most countries have procured to get rid of the virus. Unfortunately, in Uganda, this has come with some concerns of safety, a fear that has been allayed.
There is nothing wrong with the COVID-19 vaccine. Actually, we should be grateful that the scientific community has made a breakthrough in terms of coming up with a vaccine which is going to help in addressing this pandemic of COVID-19.
The first batch of the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine was received in Uganda on Friday afternoon in a consignment that contained 864,000 doses. Medical experts say the vaccine that Uganda has procured has been subjected to a full process of trial.
WHO and other world bodies, they cannot authorize the use of a vaccine or any other medication when it has proved to be harmful or when there are doubts that this kind of chemical can cause problems in the population.
The arrival of the second batch brought the total number of doses to 964,000. Baryomunsi, a professionally trained medical doctor, also cites no significant side effects associated with the vaccine.
The trials for this AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine, which we are using in Uganda, were done in Brazil, UK, South Africa, and now there is also a major trial going on in the US. And all the steps, all the data is documented, and we have reviewed all the associated literature, and there is no reason to really get scared of this vaccine.
With the vaccination against COVID-19 officially launched on Wednesday, 10th March 2021, Uganda targets to vaccinate 49.6% of the population. This will be done in a phased manner, with each phase planned to cover 20% of the population, which is approximately 4.38 million people. Henry Okurut, UBC.
Occurred on UBC TV News Tonight. The Inspectorate of Government has been urged to adopt the use of online digital technology to trace the increasing cases of fraud in the country. This has been disclosed by the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, at the launch of the Exit Online Declaration System module by the Inspectorate of Government in the Speaker's chambers.
The Inspectorate of Government believes that the online exit declaration module will be convenient, efficient and enable leaders to comply with its submission. The Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, commended the work of the Inspectorate, especially in handling issues of accountability.
It's a pity that part of the Inspectorate is leaving, and you are not well constituted even then, but I am going to be even less constituted by the absence of the second Deputy IGP. I have been discussing with the appointing authority about this matter, and I do hope that sooner rather than later it will be handled so that you are able to do your work properly.
Kadaga says the online exit module innovation is important and will enable leaders who are ceasing to serve as public officers to declare their incomes, assets and liabilities within 6 months.
Amendment to the leadership code is progressing well. I'm sure that by toward the end of next week they'll be able to present it, because I think they've completed the public hearings. The members of the tribunal were here a few days ago. I believe that this will be done as quickly as possible so that you can assist further in the work of the leadership code. I'm happy that the online declaration which I launched in 2016 has grown and that it's really moving well. So it also means that our target population have also improved and learned to use technology to be able.
Deputy IGG George Bamgemerere lauded the Speaker of Parliament for the continued support towards the Inspectorate, especially on the commitment of tabling the debate of the half-year reports of the Inspectorate.
I'd like to thank you, Reverend, for providing consistent and effective supervision to the Inspectorate of Government over the last 8 years. During that time, you've presided over all the events to which you've been invited. You've appropriated budgets as required, as requested. You've held the Inspectorate of Government leadership accountable where necessary, and you've ensured that all necessary legislative amendment that the Inspectorate of Government has requested have received the due attention. We therefore thank you very much for providing that much needed oversight.
Being his last tour of service, the Deputy Inspector General of Government, Mariam Wangadia, thanked her colleague for enduring the challenges of fighting corruption in Uganda.
The exit declaration module in particular enables leaders who are ceasing to serve as public officers to declare their incomes, assets and liabilities within 6 months from the end of their service period. That day was a very difficult day for me at the office as he was handing over to me. He has been my friend, my mentor, my advisor, and he has been with me in the most difficult times. Thank you, George. I will miss you. Declaration in the presence of the two Inspector Generals.
The Speaker took this initiative to submit her declaration of income, assets and liabilities to the Inspectorate.
Kayesu reporting. A year has passed since the World Health Organization declared a global pandemic after 121,500 cases of COVID-19 were confirmed across the world. The virus has so far claimed over 2 million lives, infecting 118 million worldwide. In Uganda, 40,520 have been infected and over 300 lives have been lost. Samuel Sedono sat down with the World Health Organization country representative to deeply understand the trends of the virus since then.
It is exactly a year since the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic. More than 40,000 cases have been reported in Uganda and close to 300 deaths registered. The country has nevertheless been credited for putting in place contingency measures to contain the virus earlier on. According to the World Health Organization, many lessons have been learnt.
We were caught off guard, but it's not as if the experts have not told us that we should get prepared, and that unless we invest in preparedness, we will have to pay maybe 100, 200 times more in terms of responding, and that's what basically happened.
Dr. Younes Woldemariam, the World Health Organization country representative, says efforts must now be geared towards vaccinating populations.
We are not safe unless everybody is vaccinated and everybody is safe. So it's a collective responsibility, and it's an issue of survival. We need, if we want to beat this virus, we have to protect everybody, because it will use those who are not vaccinated as a reservoir to wage another attack on us.
Uganda has currently received 86,400 doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine through the COVAX facility and rolled out vaccination exercises across the country. He adds that despite the vaccination against COVID-19, there should be continued adherence to the existing standard operating procedures.
What the vaccine does, it doesn't prevent you from getting the illness or getting the virus, but it protects you from the virus being multiplying in your body, making you sick and making a person die. So by depriving the vaccine the possibility of transmission, and the vaccine, the virus from multiplying more and more, for more people being infected, we deprive it the possibility of its changing its behavior. So to do that, we have to still continue until we reach a good stage of protection to protect others from getting the infection.
Dr. Younes believes that countries must now use the COVID-19 experience to put in place systems that may contain future pandemics. Samuel Senono, UBC News.
Speaker of Parliament Rebecca Kadaga has asked the Committee on the East African Affairs to intervene in the ongoing trade impasse which has seen Kenya ban Ugandan maize from accessing their market. Kadaga and a section of Member of Parliament are yet to understand the complexity of the situation that has caught Uganda's maize market in an offside position.
With hardly any sound bells, the communication to ban Uganda maize exports to Kenya went viral on various social media platforms since beginning of this week, raising eyebrows of the stakeholders. With all the legitimate channels of East African cooperation in place, Uganda's government by Wednesday, 10th March 2021, had no formal communication with or from Kenya counterparts.
This is very unfortunate. We need these traders to be handled immediately by buying of their what? Buying of their grain. Then this diplomatic talk about what can continue later.
Amelia Chambade, the Minister for Trade, informed the August House of plans to engage their Kenyan counterparts to find a way forward.
These were Kenyan trucks, and they were stopped from Nakuru after they had crossed the borders. Yes, carrying our maize. But we have also the purchasing power. Because if we say we disconnect from Kenya, do we have the purchasing power to procure this?
Really? But honourable members, really, when will you take care of the interests of Ugandans?
This is right, Honourable Speaker.
These are diplomatic measures, just to increase the pressure.
Yes, we are increasing the pressure, right, Honourable Speaker.
Government Chief Whip Ruth Nankabirwa also informed the House of President Museveni's position on the matter, saying the President has not turned a deaf ear to the situation.
First of all, the President has already talked to his brother, President Uhuru, seriously, and the matter of just putting a ban without talking, like Honorable Micheal has indicated in her statement,
was unfortunate. The President told me to remind this august House, as we get annoyed, rightly so, that the NRM, since 1980, has been championing Pan-Africanism to do away with borders. We are standing here talking about borders. Don't cross, don't come here. Yet the East African Federation was going to be the answer.
Reliable information indicates that over 150 trucks of maize were stopped from accessing Kenya by the relevant authorities.
I'm not going to be told what has happened here. I have heard. And I should be able to present. Then we come back, Madam, with the resolutions, with our reaction here to tell you what is the position of the government. That is my position, and I think we need to be a bit sober.
Meanwhile, Parliament also wants Uganda National Bureau of Standards to pronounce itself on the allegations that Uganda's maize contains aflatoxins. After a heated debate, the Speaker of Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, asked the Committee on East African Affairs to take on the matter.
To convene and examine Article 75(6) of the Treaty for East African Cooperation in relation to the ban on the eggs, on the milk, on the poultry, on the pork, on the sugar and maize, and see whether the Republic of Kenya is not in breach of the treaty and also not in breach of the customs union. We need an urgent evaluation of that so that will inform our next actions.
Daniel Mugoya, UBC News.
Now, city lawyer Male Mabilizi has dragged the Kenyan government to the East African Court of Justice over ban of Ugandan maize exports to Kenya, citing alleged high levels of aflatoxins. Mabilizi says that since Kenya subscribes to the East African Community Treaty, banning Ugandan commodities from entering their country contravenes some protocols of the East African Treaty.
Last week, Kenya Agro-processing and Food Authority banned the exportation of maize from Uganda, citing presence of aflatoxins in Ugandan maize. Although this issue is being addressed by Parliament and those in charge of trade and agriculture, Thursday morning lawyer Male Mabilizi ran to East African Court of Justice, challenging the decision by Kenyan government. In filing this case, Male Mabilizi says Kenyan ban on products from Uganda contravenes Section 1 and 2, 3 of the East African Common Market Protocol.
They require East African countries to treat citizens of partner states as equal citizens. Actually, they require them to treat goods of partner states not as imports, but as goods from same what? Countries. When we look at those directions, like the one we have attached for maize, they say with immediate effect. Now, that contravenes Article 6D and 7 of the treaty.
Mabilizi says there is no basis for Kenya to ban products from Uganda, since it subscribes to the East African Treaty.
We are not supposed to be on the knees for Kenya to lift bans, to announce bans and lift bans. That's not the point. And when you look at even the lifting is conditional. Even those conditions are illegal. If they are in the same market, now why do you say I've now lifting the ban, now there are conditions, now register?
Male Mabilizi also wants court to review the decision by the Kenyan Agriculture and Food Authority in January 2021, banning exportation of eggs and chicken from Uganda, saying it was contrary to East African Treaty.
Have they lifted that ban? They just talk about it. So this is something now legal, because we should, the moment we handle them with that laxity, you talk about it, then they say we lift. You remember, sometimes they lock out our sugar cane. Then when ministers speak, then they say we lift. And Kenya needs to be called to order, now by a court decision or by a court process, so that we leave this dilly-dallying, because every time it does it, they talk and talk, then they do something little, then they do it again.
Furthermore, Male Mabilizi wants court to compel Kenyan government to compensate losses incurred by Ugandan farmers following the ban. Meanwhile, High Court Civil Division has allowed lawyers of Ghetto TV journalist Ashraf Kasiri to amend their application before this court
and include the conduct that brought
injury to Kasidye on 27th December 2020 when he was doing his work of covering Honorable Kyagulanyi as a journalist.
Ashraf Kasirye filed this application against the Attorney General of Uganda following the alleged assault by security operatives during the former presidential candidate Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu's election campaigns in Masaka.
We can only discuss with him on WhatsApp. He can't go where there is a lot of light. At the same time, he doesn't want to be he is not advised to be in a place where there is a lot of noise.
Ashraf Kasirye wants an order from court to be compensated for damages and medical expenses incurred following the assault. This case is presided over by Judge Esther Nasambo and will resume on 23rd March 2021. Deborah Namamonde, UBC News.
Kapo, you seem to be in a hurry. Where are you going to?
I'm going to pay URA visit.
But you can access URA online. Why pay a visit?
To know more about the Kakasa business solutions, namely digital tracking solution, the voluntary disclosure program and electronic fiscal receipting and invoicing solution, which have turned my business around. You know I need to be on top of my game to protect my empire. If you know, you know.
I too need to know what Kapo knows.
Kakasa, be sure you are in charge of your business. Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
Wait.
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles. MTN.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Today tastes like a new tradition, like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action, and it never tasted this good.
UBC News Tonight, welcome back from the break. Gender equality is as old as mankind, though archaic cultural prejudice and practices tend to place the woman under a man. Even within high institutions of learning, female students were often not allowed to study courses of their choice except as teachers and nurses options. Women were fated to back doors, with few staying in public. However, with affirmative action, women are now assertive, are overcoming barriers and generally taking the front row, though still marginalized in the leadership roles. In the following report, our senior reporter Hilda Mtonyi takes us through the bumpy road of affirmative action in Uganda. Here it is.
Affirmative action to me means giving special privilege or recognition to a disadvantaged group.
In the past, it was okay for women to be restricted in education access, politics, and largely left to housekeeping, children care, and farming. Although a number of women had all along struggled to participate in gender equality moves and women empowerment initiatives, their efforts were often frustrated. According to the former Ethics and Integrity Affairs Minister, Dr. Micheal Matembe, the genesis of gender equality dates back in 1964, when the Rhoda Kalema Commission was instituted.
But they struggled alongside with men to bring independence. But once independence was here, the women were marginalized, you know, as usual. You sideline them, they just disappeared like that.
During President Amini's reign, few women were appointed to take up leadership roles in the government, like former Minister for Education Namirembe Bitamazire and Ambassador Princess Elizabeth Bagaya, among others.
Women had no voice, women had no face.
Dr. Matembe gives an insight about affirmative action and her experience so far.
They would say a woman is either a nurse or a teacher. I myself, when I decided I wanted to become a lawyer, my father was ostracizing me. He said, never here, you cannot be a lawyer and be in my house. You know, I resisted. You see me resisting. My resistance started long ago. When I noticed all those injustices done to women and girls at my age of 9 years, I had already resisted and resented what was going on.
And when I graduated from college, I will say just jumped into politics. I felt the desire to serve and represent my people. A job that I think I did very well, because I was a councillor for 2 terms. And in that, I thought there would be nothing for us without us.
The 1995 Constitution advocates for equal treatment of men and women in politics, business, and socio-economic activities. Government affirmative action policies require that a negotiated percentage of new employees have to be for women. Former Ethics and Integrity Minister Dr. Micheal Matembe and former Leader of Opposition Winnie Kiza have varying views about the affirmative action approach.
But what I know, what it has done well, is that it brought women from the private behind the scenes and put them on the public scene.
The stereotypes surrounding women empowerment are still making it hard for women to get into the spaces where they are supposed to be.
Out of about 350 members of parliament from the mainstream constituency, only 12 are women.
To ask the women to get to a platform where everybody will feel you and say, yes, this is a woman, you will have worked almost 3 times.
It doesn't mean that you are lesser. It doesn't mean that you are lesser. It means you are not as advantaged as somebody else to access something, but we help you to facilitate you to get it in that ability you have, to give you an extra. It's like when you are working, they give you an extra push.
A senior counsel, Munanura Andrew Karokora's view, however, is that though women have become assertive over their rights, a number of them are in back doors.
Because women still suffer from a lot of cultural prejudices, cultural practices that hold them backwards.
Women are there, except that they are not pursuing the cause. If they were pursuing the cause, then for us we had achieved.
What is missing?
Researchers should be able to carry out studies to establish really whether this affirmative action is really working.
Now, women are no longer behind the scenes. They are in the markets trading, agriculture, engineering, and construction. Women gaining more financial autonomy and power in their homes. So should affirmative action policies be scrapped, since women have almost got it all?
Since the nature of the affirmative action that we have now has failed, and yet we need the participation of women in decision-making positions, we should change this issue of affirmative action and say apply the principle of gender equality in the politics.
For example, myself, I work in Parliament, and there's a special affirmative action given to women parliamentarians at district level, one woman per district. It has brought more women to the table, political table in parliament. What has it led to? Led to laws which have a special, special angle or special slant towards women.
Women have steadily come of age, claiming comfortable places at the high tables of governance, politics and business.
There's nothing women in Uganda now cannot do. Everything that would be done by a man, women, we have sufficient women to do it.
Their effect has been felt in the corridors of power, the legal fraternity, in the temple of justice, mainly in the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, and on the international scene. Voices of Lady Justice Stella Arach Amoko, Lady Justice Dr. Chisache Esther, Lady Justice Dr. Solomi Balungi Bosa, Lady Justice Faith Monda, and Lady Justice Julia Septinde, the first African woman to sit on the World Court bench, have proved to be instrumental in the realization of justice. Unlike Uganda, other African nations that have domesticated their laws by duly noticing the potential of the woman and entrusting them with the office of the Chief Justice, like Nigeria and Gambia in 1912 and 1913 respectively.
Judiciary, the three organs of the state, there is judiciary. Judiciary has the Chief Justice, he has the Deputy Chief Justice, we have the head of the Court of Appeal, we have the Principal Judge. Those four important positions, really, do you know how many distinguished women lawyers, qualified and competent in this country, who can be like even a Chief Justice himself? Are there no women who can do much better than Winyidoro? Oh, Winyidoro, why Winyidoro? Why Odochi? Why what? As if women are not there in this land. I don't know why women of Uganda cannot be angry enough to rise up and take their positions in this country. I don't know.
The notion that women have been empowered in terms of leadership is a lip service. Women were supposed to be in politics to influence governance, gender, and make it responsive for their needs and aspirations.
To add the woman question on the agenda.
Citing gaps in the affirmative action policies, a woman activist was asked if she will relent the campaign for women's rights, and her answer was as good.
I do on my own voluntary. Nobody pays me. God pays me. God is great. You know, God told me that I will never disappear in oblivion because I'm his, and I will never run out of supply.
Activists argue that though there are more women in middle management, the boardroom is still a male-dominated affair, and many continue to face bias at workplace. Mutonyi Hilda, UBC.
Yes, that is as we continue to celebrate you, our mothers, our wives, our sisters. We love you. The districts of Abim, Kotido, Karenga and Kabong, situated in Karamoja sub-region, are synonymous with long dry spell seasons, a climatic disaster which environmentalists attribute to deforestation. FAO, under its program, Solog Production Grant Scheme Project, has provided grants to farmers in the affected districts in Karamoja sub-region to subsidize the cost of setting up and maintaining forest plantation.
Angole Dokas, a resident of Hela Apeta village at the Kogwok sub-county, Lira district, is one of the beneficiaries in the Solog Production Grant Scheme project of FAO, funded by the European Union. She has a nursery bed of different tree species and produces over 600,000 per season.
We have the camadlensis, they do well in Karamoja. We have the acacias, they do well in Karamoja. And there are many species, the Vasdavias, they do well in Karamoja. So the feature of Karamoja and even the mahoganies, they do well in Karamoja. So if we want to have Karamoja forested, it is very possible.
Like any other business, Dokas has encountered challenges ever since she began this nursery bed project.
Inputs that we use in the nursery are very high, their cost is very high. Take for example the pine seed. The pine seed cost us 4 million. That is the minimum price we pay per kilo. Yes, 1 kilo of pine, 4 million. That is minimum. And UTGA charges between 4 million to 4.5 million for registered members.
Angole advises her fellow foresters to always seek advice from experts to acquire better seedlings.
Please go and visit how other bigger nurseries are doing. Don't go to a smaller nurseries that you are not even motivated. That whenever you reach there, then you say, but even this one, me, I'm better.
Another tree farmer, Christine Anyaiti of Lotuke sub-county in Abim district, has 50 acres of eucalyptus plantation and says community members need more sensitization on forests.
Most of our people, especially here in the Karamoja region, we want to cut what nature has put, what God has put down, but we do not want to plant. So this is an attempt to show that, everybody needs to plant something.
Now Anyaiti appeals to government to support tree planting in Karamoja region, despite of its arid area situation.
To the government of Uganda, this needs to continue a little bit further in the Karamoja region. As you will move around, you will see the bare land which is still there. And these people don't even go into what? They don't go into agriculture much. Because even if you go into agriculture, maybe 1 or 2 months, rain, there is a heavy downpour. Afterwards, it is very dry. So they end up losing their crops. So the only thing that is viable now is what? Tree growing.
The community here used to cut trees for charcoal burning, but now appreciates the effort and admirable spirit Christine has put in, advising them not to cut trees.
Planting has showed us that when you cut down the tree, it is very bad. It means that you are degrading your area.
Sebira Andrew compiled this report.
Thank you so much, Sebira Andrew. And with your story, we're taking a very short break. To you watching us, do not miss what we have in business. It's UBC News Tonight.
That's their way of stopping HIV. What about you?
No one should stop you from finishing what's yours. That's why MTN gives you data bundles that don't expire. Load MTN Freedom bundles using My MTN app and enjoy the freedom to finish your data bundles.
MTN. This March, in commemoration of the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2021, we deliberate on the value of water and environment resources in transforming our economy and livelihoods through a 371-kilometer walk. From Kampala through Mpiji, Mityana, Mubende, Chegegwa, Chenjojo, Fort Portal to the riverbanks of River Nyamwamba in Kasese. We walk for water. We walk for the environment. We walk for climate change. We walk for public health. We walk for socio-economic transformation. The Uganda Water and Environment Week Walk is proudly sponsored by
Today tastes like a new tradition. like an old favorite. Tastes like all hands on deck and all eyes on the prize. Today tastes like a piece of the action. And it never tasted this good.
Thank you so much for watching. It's UBC Business News tonight now. Now, Uganda maize dealers have continued lamenting and protesting over the Kenyan government exportation sanctions to the maize produce, which according to them uncalled for was for since Monday 8th March 2021. The Uganda-Kenya-Busia border was painted with pictures of loaded maize trucks from Uganda as they were denied entry into Kenya. The move has since then welcomed parallel debate from either side.
It is nearly a week since the Kenyan government imposed a temporary ban on export of Ugandan maize produce to its market on assumption that it contains aflatoxins. Since then, Ugandan maize dealers have been crying foul.
Indeed, there wasn't any formal communication to us. Just we are told within 24 hours that Kenyan government is no longer in need of Ugandan maize due to the fact that it's full of aflatoxin. We are facing a lot of challenges, my dear, because you cannot purchase maize at 650 and you sell it at 480.
Emmotoka gye ziri e Busia twasindika kasooli waffe n'emmotoka ziri Busia bazigaanidde ku nsalo n'ennyini gwe twagula ntuleka ku masitoowa naye gyali ali eyo ku masitoowa.
By the time of our visit to this maize milling plant and store located in Kawempe, 2 of the maize transport lorries that were bounced back by the Kenyan authorities were being offloaded. Hajat Naguja Sarafina and Senyonjo Hamidi are seasoned maize dealers who have been hit hard by this latest decision by the Nairobi government.
Because they have been consuming it for a while, for very many years along. So you cannot wake up one morning and you say that you don't bring Ugandan maize. It's full of aflatoxin and you make people lose a lot of money.
Kasooli simanyi oba mukeberera bannakenya kuba baatuwabwisa wa 24 nga twerazizzeeyo ewaabwe nga baggaddewo kati ne bw'ogendera emmotoka ziri wali zonna ziri awo sente z'abantu ziri mu kufa bufi okiwulidde kati wano ffe Uganda tetukyalina otutunda kintu.
With the closures of borders of countries like Rwanda and Burundi and insecurity in South Sudan and DR Congo, the local schools market would have been another market option for maize dealers, but COVID-19 lockdown also hit them below the belt.
If the schools were operating, at least people could have survived, but the close of schools is affecting a lot. Now schools are closed, borders are closed. Uganda will have nowhere to run.
Ate twajja ne tufuna n'ekizwa amasomero ne bagawummuza. Amasomero galigezezzaako okulya kasooli naye n'amasomero abaana bali waka. Tiwaliwo tuddukira.
Renowned city lawyer Fred Mwema believes it is now time for East African community integration and federation protocols to take center stage.
So on the side of trade, I feel that the matter must be resolved under the trade pact that these countries have, and you need to know that this is not the first trade dispute between countries. Countries are always fighting and quarreling over why you're not taking this and protectionism and tariffs.
By and large, the fact remains that the Ugandan market has for years registered an influx of either counterfeit or toxic products. Hence, the Kenyan embargo can substitute as an eye-opener. Robert Onyango, UBC News, Kampala.
Still in business news, a state-of-the-art agro-processing and value addition industry is soon to be completed and unveiled to Ugandans. The proprietor of the factory, Chigundu Hamisi, says farm produce will have to be processed here and then exported to outside markets. Chigundu also revealed this earlier on Thursday during the launch of his latest book entitled Reason as the World Masterpiece.
following this week's incidents where Kenyan government banned Uganda maize exports due to allegedly poor quality. Maize farmers in Uganda are crying foul as they are now stuck with huge stocks of both maize grain and flour. However, there might be light at the end of the tunnel as an agro-processing and value addition industry is soon to be completed.
Agro bank in partnership with the farmers. Abalimi tuyina controlling right from the fertilizers they use, the pesticides. Tuyina okubasomesa the best agriculture practices. Kubasa wano bagenda okufulumya ebintu nga tebisobola ku meeting akatale k'ebintu ebyetaagisibwa. So they end up leaving the liability. Batunda ko wano bitulyako ebira ne bikola ki? Neyo kati tuyina storage facilities ezembadde nkunyonnyola.
Ms. Chigundu advises Ugandans to embrace the reading culture because a lot of useful information is put in writing. A book entitled Reason as the World Masterpiece has been launched and over 50,000 books have been published for circulation.
The instance of the two books combined, they don't differ a lot from each other. But the instance of the book is to try to push my fellow Ugandans towards mindset change, because I believe reason is at the center of each and everything we do in life as human beings. As a Ugandan, Uganda comes first. As an African, Africa always comes first. But as a human being, humanity comes first.
This is the second book written by Chigundu, with the first entitled Success and Failure Based on Reason and Reality.
Identify your perimeters of weakness. Identify your perimeters of strength. Find out how can you use your strength and weakness towards your starting point. Because people in most cases are looking for miracles to start. But you can only start with what you have. If you have 1 million, why do you desire to start with 10?
He says these books are aimed at transforming lives of people through critical thinking and reasoning.
If someone has got the ability to invoke and apply reason in each and every element of life, they have capacity to make it big in life. I define reason as that ability of making a deep critical analysis and assessment into all the prevailing circumstances around you before you make a decision towards any aspect or challenge in life.
Story compiled by Nelson Akatura for UBC News.
Ms. Chigundu there launching his new book, Reason as the World Masterpiece. Moving on, Uganda Tourism Board has launched the 6th Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo 2021, the annual expo which will take place virtually from the 23rd to the 25th of April this year, geared at digitally promoting Uganda as a top destination in the world. The event will run under the theme Restarting Tourism for Regional and Economic Development. Charlotte Amuge has it in detail.
It's been 1 year since the COVID-19 pandemic wrapped its arms around the world and Uganda went under a countrywide lockdown. For the tourism sector, this came at a cost.
From post-COVID-19 effects, it is estimated that by December 2020, the industry had lost an estimated 1 million foreign tourists, translating into 4 trillion Ugandan shillings in foreign exchange earning.
With the gradual increase of domestic tourism, Uganda's tourism sector is slowly getting back on track. This was emphasized at the launch of the 6th Annual Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo 2021 at Ndere Culture Center.
Our customer number one in the tourism sector is the Ugandan. Because a country that does not do well in domestic tourism cannot do well in international tourism either. Because it's the people themselves that can tell a story about their own country. So as we move, as we are reconnecting now, the reconnection cannot only be to the outside world. the reconnection should also be to the Ugandan.
The Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo 2021 aims at not only boosting product knowledge post-COVID-19 in the Ugandan market, but also in digitally promoting Uganda as a top tourism destination regionally and globally.
It is our duty as UTB to reach out to the various stakeholders in the industry to take on new technology, to reinvent ourselves and make sure that we comply with the new happening of things in the world and we remain part of the global happenings by reaching out digitally so that we cannot be lost out in whatever is happening simply because we had COVID in Uganda.
The markets we're targeting at the moment, a lot of them are still in a serious lockdown, and they have a lot of time to browse and see what is available outside the borders of their own country. Let us take advantage of this, I call it a captive audience, to effectively market what Uganda has to offer.
This year, the expo will be held virtually from 23rd to 25th of April, and it will enable exhibitors to showcase and obtain the latest information on available tourism products from Uganda. Powata 2021 will focus on 4 major areas, which include recovery, rebuilding, rebooting, and reconnecting travel to Uganda. Charlotte Amuge and Robin Yoso for UBC Business.
Communities, especially farmers in the eastern region of the country, have been encouraged to utilize the chances of involving in growing crops with value addition and high demand to enable them develop and better their well-being both socially and economically. This follows the high demand of crop husks of rice, beans, among others, by Hima Cement Factory as the factory ventures into the new Fondi Cement brand trending on the market.
Communities, especially farmers from the eastern region of the country, have a reason to smile following the high demand of crops like rice, beans, and coffee husks, among others, grown in these areas by Hima Cement Factory. These two factory chemists are value additions and supplementary to the original cement ingredient limestone. These new ingredients on demand now are the final mixed products of a new Hima Cement Factory, known as Fondi Cement brand, which is produced from the raw materials of rice, beans, and coffee husks. This new technology, according to environmental experts, is environmental friendly. The manager at rural grinding station of Hima Fondi Cement, Lukomwa says the time is now for farmers to shift from small-scale farming to large commercial farming that involves validation of crops whose residues are highly needed in factories.
As part of our sustainable ambitions, we've set a very big ambition, particularly here, to use 100% recyclable fuels or biomass fuels. So these biomass fuels do not only protect our environment, but they also go a long way in also giving back to our communities, because we buy these fuels from the communities in and around the district of Tororo, and these communities really get a livelihood out of selling this biomass to Hima Cement. So we use it to dry our raw materials and in the processes to produce sustainable products.
He said this technology of using husks will reduce the prices of cement on the market and also enable farmers to continue earning a living in the agricultural produce. This will not only benefit the farmers, but also the country will develop both social and economically. The marketing manager of Fondi Cement, Philemon Mubiru, says the new brand will not only benefit those in the construction industry, but also will improve the agriculture sector, while farmers will be able to benefit from husks of rice, beans, and maize, which has not been the case.
This, we believe, will not have the price fluctuations that you saw that happened in 2020. Later on, the demand, we had very high demand, but the supply was low because of the restrictions. But effective this year, we put up better plans, and we're hoping to have this actually improve. We will not be having any issues to do with demand insufficiencies.
However, this new shift in production is also being emulated by other factories because it's environmental friendly and cost effective. Shaidat in Nasaku, UBC News.
And that brings us to the end of News Tonight. We thank you so much for watching and following whatever we had for you tonight. My name is Micheal Jordan Lukomwa with Elizabeth Nakakoni and the whole team here. We wish you the best of the night. Let's get back to you in our other programs, and we'll leave you with Molin Kenyana, who has the weather forecast report here.
Brought to you by
At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
Yes, good evening and a very warm welcome to tonight's weather report. My name is Molin Kenyana. Now, we do have a dry spell. I'm talking about mostly hot and sunny conditions across the country. And one thing for sure is that we could be dealing with similar conditions even for the next couple of days, as temperatures are also likely to remain equally high. Now, looking at our satellite, we can see that most of those conditions are due to the high pressure system over the north that is still relatively strong, and that is pushing dry winds towards our country. At the same time, we also have weak pressure systems south of our continent. Now, looking at those two conditions, we can see that that is likely to bring us a reduction in wet weather activities. Well, tomorrow in the morning, we're likely to start off the day with a bright and sunny morning across the country. We do expect some light rains though, but those will be only over the islands of Lake Victoria. Now, later in the afternoon, we will maintain mostly intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions across the country. We do expect to have some scattered rains, but those will be across the central part of the Lake Victoria basin. Now, our temperatures are likely to have numbers going up compared to what we had today. We have a maximum of 29 for Kampala, and a warm day is forecast across northern Uganda. We'll see temperatures going up to 33, 34 for the Karamoja region, and across Kabale Highlands, we will see a maximum of 25 degrees centigrade. Some of the world cities we have for you, we're forecasting sunny intervals across Mombasa with a very warm day. Temperatures will be at 31 degrees. And for Moscow, we're likely to have snow with temperatures going below zero. We'll have a maximum of -6. We are forecasting a sunny day across Dubai at a maximum of 31 degrees. With that, we come to the end of tonight's weather report. Thank you very much for joining us. My name is Molin Kenyana. Have a good night.
Brought to you by
At Umeme, your safety is our top priority. Report illegal practices to Umeme when you detect them. Download the Umeme app for other services. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Umeme, powering Uganda.
Up next on UBC, brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
your end up higher. You're not holding it.
I am too.
You are not.
Don't worry about me. Hey, isn't that suit charcoal?
No.
Looks charcoal gray to me. Some gray polyester blend. Think you can find a black suit for your own father's funeral?
It's black.
No, I'm sure it's gray.
It's black.
Gray.
Black.
Gray.
Black.
Fine, it's black.